Welcome everyone. My name is Sharon and it's my joy to introduce Robin Gamble as he leads us through this significant series titled You Need to Talk About God. It's 5 simple films helping us to really explore what we think about God.
I wonder if a series of films called You Need to Talk About God is actually a bit provocative, just a bit too poking in the ribs or aggressive. But actually, you do need to talk about God. You do need to think about God. You do need to even feel your way into God, not just you, but me and everybody else. Why? Because God is great and beautiful and huge and deep and rich and wants us to give us so much and wants to be so part of our whole life. That's God. Secondly, because you are a human being. You have a huge brain. You have sensitivities. You ask questions. You think about possibilities. You try to work out the best way to live your life. You, me, and everybody else, we're trying to find what? Contentment, inner peace, joy, happiness, sense of direction. And that is why we all need to think, talk, feel about God. Now, if we think about human beings as a whole and God, if we look to the past, we see 2 things very interesting. First of all, from the very first moment when human beings, Homo sapiens, emerged, probably somewhere in east towards South Africa, we know that they've always had a sort of a searching, a looking, an aspiration towards God or the spiritual life. Someone to make the sun shine, someone to make the rains come, someone to keep them safe, someone to just give them a sense of direction and meaning. It is as if human beings have always had like a God hole or space in their hearts and in their intellects, their intellectual exploration. Despite this, from the beginnings of the 19th century, well, a bit before that, but certainly gathering momentum then, there was a sort of an atheistic, living without God, looking for alternative explanations, trying to get rid of God going on. And this has left us here in the West, living in what we call a secular age. So it is as if we've sort of packed God away like the Christmas trimmings and shoved him up into our intellectual attics. We've not thrown him out, but we're certainly living without him. One of the great movers in this atheistic, God-denying process was the French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre. And he said, atheism, which is where he was, atheism is a long and cruel business. I believe I've been through it to the end, and for the last years I've been like a man who no longer has any reason to live. You know, we spend our days without God, rather like Sartre. We spend it in front of the telly, we spend it in the gym, we spend it looking at our screens, maybe we spend it going out into nature. But the more we move away from God, there's a verse in the Bible which says, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Now, I don't think that this means that anybody who's really thought about God and has come to the conclusion that I can't believe in him is a fool or an idiot. I think it's wider than that. I think it is that when people just are not bothered to think, to look, to search, to ask big questions, to think, why are we here? I think then we are all playing in a circus of fools. Western secularism is stronger in the UK than any other country in the world. And in the UK, it's the strongest in England. But secularism is a shallow pond. There's not much depth. There's not much meaning. There's not a great deal of significance. That is why we all need to talk and think about the possibilities of this great, big, amazing God.
Why do I need to think about God? So where am I in this great mass of unbelief? Am I a non-believer? Or just can't be bothered believing? Am I interested enough to want to find out about God? To find out about life? Do I have a mind of my own? Or am I just part of the crowd? Do I have a soul? Am I wanting to live?
You know that we are designed with great big brains and a great big sort of searching heart to ask questions, big questions about the meaning of life. And the three biggest questions of all are, where did we come from? Why are we here? And where are we going to? These are questions for the whole evolved human race, but they're questions for me, Robin Gamble, about my life. And they're questions about you and about your life. Where did we come from? Why am I here? And where am I going to? You know, there's a little piece by Ezra Pound. It's not exactly a poem, it's more just a pithy little, and he's talking about life, and he says this: the days are not full enough, the nights are not full enough, and life slips by like a field mouse, not even shaking the grass. Ezra Pound, he's so much he wants to live and think and do and be. There's just not enough days. There's not enough nights. He wants to make his mark in the world, but he slips through the grass and he's gone, and the grass is still there. I often think about my life with my big questions as being like a pathway that stretches out before me every day, every month, every year. Actually, the truth is, I've lived most of my years, but I've still got quite a bit left. And as I go along this path, I don't want to lose track of it and come off. I don't want to sit down and stop travelling. I want to keep living life to the full. And I want to ask those questions. Why am I here? Where did I come from? Where am I going? And I want life in its fullness. And if I'm to do that, I need to ask, am I going to walk this path alone? Or am I going to walk it maybe with my wife and family? Or am I going to walk it with all of them and with the great, wonderful God who knows about pathways and who knows about destiny? You know, the Bible says the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. But wise people, they reach into their heart and they ask the questions and they look for God and they search themselves to find him. And maybe they ask him to come and help find them. So as we go through these 5 films, we do need to think and talk about God. And I really hope that every one of you will find something of God in your brain, in your intellect, and in your heart, so that together we can walk this great road.